Chairman. Mr. Starr, you're a smart man with a lot of security knowledge. Is a footprint more secure if it's smaller or larger?
A footprint, sir? A larger one is going to require a lot more resources to secure. Not necessarily more secure or less secure. I would tell you that our consulate in Herat, which was much smaller than the embassy, we successfully defended that against a complex attack, and we've also successfully defended the embassy against attacks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And in fact, you know, the embassy in Kabul, even after it was vacated for a decade, it was a secure building. It had to be breached by the roof. When we went in there in the early days, I recall seeing George Bush's picture on the wall with Mr. Schultz as Secretary of Defense, 1989 calendars on the wall, Volkswagen Golfs in the garage. I guess this notion that we have to have 5,500 people on a compound is just a mystery to me. How do you justify that?
Sir, allow me to turn to my counterpart, sir. I'm the one that's given the task to secure them.
We appreciate Ms. Muniz, and she has been gracious to allow us to beat up on her in previous testimony. But she has also stated clearly here in this hearing that in a dispute, which the GAO and the IG have laid out, which they're in agreement, by the way, on security issues, and Ms. Muniz in her testimony today said that in a dispute on security matters, you win. It's a deferment. And so now what I see is this no desire to streamline infrastructure. We see a support of the support, and then the more support that comes in, it has to be supported, and then it has to be secured, and then the logistics of that. And now we've got 5,500 people, and we're guarding them with Gurkhas, which I have great admiration for the Gurkhas. I've been in environments with them, tough, you know, sharp knives, a lot of respect for them. However, we have created a situation where this thing is massive. And you, by your own admission, in talking about Herat and how it was defensible, how can we justify this enormous footprint?
Sir, I mean, I think that the point is that we obviously have a different set of requirements for professional staff in Kabul than we did in Herat. You know, in Herat, I think at professional staff we had 10 or a dozen. In Kabul, where we're now going to be running all of our operations in Afghanistan because we've pulled back from the field locations, we of course have a much larger direct hire population of people who are doing the work of diplomacy, doing the work of development. That number is drawing down in terms of the current agencies, but it's actually going to go up because you're going to have the Security Cooperation Office come under the embassy umbrella at a certain stage. You've got other agencies that are going to stop being self-supporting at a certain stage. And the truth is that in the current situation in Kabul, you've hit the nail on the head. If you've got several hundred people doing professional work, you are going to have thousands more who are providing the life support services of a small city, who are securing that, who are providing movement security.
But look, in the early days, all the way up to 2009, we had an embassy there that was secured by a Marine security company. By the way, they do that. That's part of their mission. The Marines, they secure embassies. I mean, this is no revelation to anyone on this panel. And yet, we're talking about this insatiable need for size and girth. I don't know how. I guess my question, you stated in your own testimony, Mr. Blanc, I appreciate you piping up, that the Department of State needs to be expeditionary in nature. I believe those were the words that you used. So how can a 4 times increase in the operations since 2009 be expeditionary?
Well, sir, I think there are a few things. First of all, there are a number of security challenges in Afghanistan that are obviously not normal to
I'm aware of them. I even lived in a safe house in Kabul. I'm very familiar with the security structure and the dangers in Afghanistan.
And I would say further, sir, that the security situation has evolved over time. When I first lived in Afghanistan in 2002, the situation was very different, and the embassy at the time was secured very differently. Now the number of, the security requirements for movement, we talked about the road to the airport, the situation is very different. And so inherently the the support requirements have also changed. I would, though, challenge, sir, the idea that we have an insatiable need for girth. In fact, the civilian staff surged with the military surge and is now drawing back. And to the extent that there's going to be growth, it's really going to be growth from other agencies coming in under the State Department umbrella. So I believe that the support services that we have, both life support and security support, are necessary. I don't think that they can be replaced in Kabul at this time.
But
I
they're
think that we are
self-perpetuating. And if I may ask for an indulgence, Mr. Chairman, they're self-perpetuating. And the larger you increase the footprint, the more need to increase the footprint. I mean, at some point, and it's easy to see how it's happened. In fact, the GAO and the IG agree. There's not been this strategic master plan. And then we hear from Ms. Muniz, you said we can't develop such a plan. My reply to that is nonsense. Develop the plan and then adjust it. We do that all the time at state. We do it in the military. We do it in Congress even. I know that's shocking to some people that we actually plan.
That's precisely what we did. I argued that that is precisely what we did. I did not say that was not necessary or possible.
Well, then you had mentioned, though, that the regular plans, that the standard plans were not applicable, even in this testimony today. You said that the international construction and safety standards needed to be taken into account. How could those possibly be any better or different, or we've not seen these international construction and safety standards, I believe is what you called them today. How would that deviate from standard embassy designs with military security in the early dangerous days, and then you enhance it later?
I'm not sure which document you're referring
I'm not. I'm picking from your testimony today,
that
and
is
I
not in
quote
my
international construction and safety standards. So I'm as baffled by it as you are. What would those be?
Congressman, the security standards are based on the Overseas Security Policy Board standards. I actually chair the Overseas Security Policy Board with the heads of the other agencies that work overseas. I would say that in our normal buildings that we build around the world, and we incorporate those standards in, and every building that OBO builds meets those standards, we're in a situation where we've been asked to stay in what is essentially a war zone. And that presents challenges even on top of the regular Overseas Security Policy Board standards. And these are some of the things that we've had to adjust to as the security situation has declined.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I know.
The gentleman's,
I'm sorry. Thank you,
gentleman's
Mr.
time
Chairman.
is,
If there's time later, I'd like to follow up, if I may. Thank you.
I thank you.